Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD. Today we are going to step back into the world of Battletech miniatures and how do I want to put this? Basically finish the series that I started when I was looking at the force packs that were released as part of the Clan Invasion Kickstarter. The Lance packs, the Star packs, the two Com Star packs. But there were some miniatures that I left out of those reviews. Namely, the miniatures from the Beginner box, the A Game of Armored Combat box, and the Clan Invasion box. So, we've got a few more videos that are going to be coming out. Basically just focusing on those miniatures. In anticipation for what's going to be coming up from the Mercenaries Kickstarter later this year. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started on the beginner box. Now, this will be a shorter video because there's only two miniatures to look at. But before we get started, do make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop content from board games, miniatures, role-playing games, everything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So, let's go ahead and get started. All right, the first figure that we're looking at is the Griffin. Now, this is one of the unseen mechs. And as you can see here, this is the original piece of art from 3025. Now, I believe this was originally part of the Dougram anime. Somebody in the comments, feel free to correct me. But this piece of art, I don't know. The original didn't really grab me very much. It sort of has a Gundam feel to it. It also looks like a giant armored scuba diver with the collar that it's got going on. But it's it does have the LRM pack, and then it's carrying a gun, as was pretty typical for a lot of the miniatures at the time. Now, in 3050, we then saw this version of the mech. So they cleaned up the art a little bit. The gun still kind of looks similar to the original piece of art, but is also a bit different. Doesn't really look very useful, we'll call it. And then on top of that, the missile launcher, for some reason, only carries 7 missiles. I'm not quite sure how they got that to work, but it is what it is. Overall, I kind of like how they improved it. Again, it's a little bit cleaner. It kind of emphasizes the scuba diver look here, but it still looks like a Griffin. All right, next was Tech Readout 3085. Now, this is after the Unseen era. So they were bringing the mechs back in and having to come up with new art that didn't quite always look the same. Now, in this case, you can see that they moved the missile launcher to the left side. Still has a gun, but in this case, it's actually built into the arm as opposed to being handheld. And but it does still also have the shoulder armor going on there. Overall, not a bad version of the mech. It does kind of lose its scuba diver look, although it does have that kind of half dome look to the faceplate for the cockpit. All right, then our last one is from Project Phoenix. Now, this one, from all of the Project Phoenix mechs, I actually have to say that this is probably, we'll call it the least drastic. It very much retains a lot of the original look. Again, that semi-domed canopy, the handheld gun, LRM 10 on the right shoulder, so it's in the proper place. and the shoulder armor. So again, this mech really didn't change over the years. And then when we finally got to our Illclan version that we see here, this I would have to say is probably one of the least changed mechs. Although obviously, this particular mech is definitely not the same as this one. But this, definitely does right by the original design, but then also makes it a little bit better in my opinion. So I really like how this one came out. The version that I painted up for myself came out of the Legends book, which had a very bright red and yellow paint scheme to it. So it even paints up really well. I really did enjoy this one. So that is the Griffin, and in just a moment we will switch over and we'll look at the Vindicator. All right, now this is the Vindicator mech. This was released as part of the beginner box in 2022. So if you purchased the beginner box prior to 2022, you would have received the Wolverine, I believe, as the companion mech to the Griffin. Now, part of the reason for the change is that the Wolverine is also present in a game of Armored Combat, so we'll see that one when we go to when I do the miniatures reviews from that set. But I think this was a pretty good choice for the replacement. Now, for its original 3025 design, this is what we've got. It's a little, I'm going to go ahead and say rough. Proportions aren't the greatest. The legs look very spindly, but it's, it's a big stompy robot, so I'm not going to complain too much. The miniature itself, as you see, definitely retains a lot of this original art. Even when we move into the 3050 version of the Vindicator, it's not changing too much. Just looks a little bit better, a little bit more cleaned up and refined. And then finally we had this version in 3050 upgrade. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to find a piece of art for the Illclan version of the Mechs, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in on the figure itself. And I have to say, overall, I really like what they did with this redesign. You can still see the jump jets on the back of the legs, and just the rest of the design keeps going or keeps harkening back to the original design, sort of the helmet kind of look to the cockpit. I'm guessing it's a small laser in the head, and I actually like how prominent it is on this one, easy to see. And then still with the LRM-5 rack in the middle of the chest. Now, when it finishes coming back around, I will point out one other thing that that I liked, and that's the fact that the LRM-5 actually has a cover that they positioned opened on the figure. I really think it looks well. It's just a nice little twist, I guess I'll call it, to the miniatures, which are normally, either the missiles are just, the tubes are open, or just not, not exposed regardless. So overall, two really good miniatures. They're not the greatest, but regardless, they're still solid miniatures just to include in a starter set for somebody who's looking to get a taste of the game. And even at the cost of $25 for the starter set, I think it's pretty worth it for what you're going to pay to get these two figures. So overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. And like I said, make sure you're subscribed. I try to put out a few videos each week, and happy to have you along. So thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.